Sundergaard with Armstrong. I'm the Architectural Specialties Installation Manager. And today we're going to talk about our WOODWORKS Tegular Grille System. These are 2x2 panels. They also come in 2x4. This is an actual sample of our horizontal slat. And then this is an example of our vertical slat. And this also comes in a 2x4 panel. Today we're going to be installing this one on Armstrong Superfine 9/16 grid, black capped for visual. And we're going to show cutting the panels, installing them, and also putting a bio pad on the back side for sound. And last, we're going to talk about the trim options for this. You can use an Axiom vector trim inverted, which this gives you approximately 5/8 of a flange to rest your cut panel on. And you can install it a couple different ways. This way, it's capping off the grid and it's not capping off the slats. So when you're using that, you can use a normal AXTBC clip for your grid attachment to the Axiom. If you wanted your Axiom lower to cover the cut wood slats, then you would use our ATC adjustable trim clip, which you can use in all different heights for your different systems. This is our intermediate duty grid. With the weight of the WOODWORKS Grille Tegular panels, it just barely reaches the allowable weight for the grid system. If you were to put any other weight on the system, you would have to go to a heavy duty grid system or independently support any mechanical devices in the system. Okay, so we're going to talk about the trim on here. We actually are using the Armstrong vector trim. Now this profile is only recommended for full-size vector installs, but on other installs you can actually invert this trim, and this gives a nice 5/8 flange on here for resting your wood on, especially when you need to consider expansion and contraction for humidity levels with our wood products. So installed, since this Axiom is only covering the suspension system, we are using the AXTBC clips that comes with the Axiom. And then at the wall, you can use a splice plate for attachment to the wall, a clip, whatever works out on your job site for attaching your Axiom to a wall or a soffit. So another trim option that we have for this in replace of Axiom would be our solid wood trim. Basically, you have to attach your wall angle to the solid wood trim, approximately 1.5 inches up from the bottom, so then when this Grille Tegular lays in here, it flushes out with the bottom of the wood. And then you're just attaching your cross tee or your mains to the back side of the wood through the molding with 2 screws and an XTAC clip. Now, if this is your cross tee like this one is right here, what's going to support this trim? You need to have a wire out here. This wire has to be no more than the midpoint of this cut cross tee for proper support. Cutting these panels, I'd recommend a table saw. Now this table saw has the safety guard removed just so the guard doesn't damage the face of the wood. Now there's going to be 2 different directions you're going to have to cut these panels. You're going to have to cut them where you're cutting through the blades, which as long as your blade height is long enough, you can basically just take this and run it right through the saw to cut up your blades. And then if you're going in the other direction, you can actually lower your blade all the way down to just coming up over a 1/2 inch from the bottom, because now all you have to do is just cut the backers when you're going the other direction. So this makes it a lot easier to cut them in this direction by just cutting the backer, but then there will be times that you have to cut the blade as well. This pattern is in an alternating pattern. The panels have to be alternated every panel in order for the layout to work. If you choose not to do it that way, your blades will not have all the exact same spacing in between blades. So putting all the blades in the same direction doesn't give you your equal spacing. So that's why this system has to be alternated. So we have two different infill options. We can use a bioacoustical infill pad, or we can use a bagged fiberglass. So up here shows the bagged fiberglass, and if you can see, it's too much of an open area. You're seeing all the shininess of the plastic bag. So this one is highly not recommended with this system. This one is our bioacoustical infill pad. As you can tell, it has a nice black matte finish, and it's a lot more pleasing to the eye than the bagged fiberglass. It's important that you make sure your humidity levels on the job site are 25 to 55% before you start installing your wood. These meters will help you know what your readings are in that area before you start installing. It must maintain those levels for the life of the install. The last thing to remember is with all our wood products, we have touch-up kits. It comes with a stain marker and a wax stick for doing any touch-ups that you need on the job site. Thank you for watching this video. To learn more about WOODWORKS products from Armstrong, please visit armstrongceilings.com/woodworks.